Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Uh, Sorry, I have come a bit late, some 8 minutes late actually. I was actually watching something, a movie in my TV, and it was engrossing, and that's why I just became a bit late, and I beg your pardon for that. Anyway, good evening to everybody. I hope you are all well in this tough situation. Please do not go out of home as less as possible in this situation because cases are spiking in our town. Exactly, from China it has traveled a long way to India and finally to our own town. So please stay safe, stay happy, and well, let's discuss what we are meant to do here. Some English stuffs. Well, you have sent your homeworks, I have seen them, but I have not commented on anything or any one of it because I would like to comment now. Because the question which I gave you, I think it was the improbable things or the improbable sentences or the lines which you find in the text Midnight Express so far as now. Wasn't it the home task? I think so. Good evening, everybody. Ovijit, Ognik, Shambho, Piyush, Somnath, Prantik, and everybody. Devajyoti, good evening to all of you. Well, let's see what you have written. The first one I see is that of Shagnik. You have written Mortimer was passing through the environment which he read in his book instead, but it can't be possible in real life. So I think it was his nightmare. Well, uh, passing through something which you have read in your childhood is not that. It's not that. I mean, it's not that much impossible, isn't it? I mean, you have read something and you think you are experiencing that exactly that thing in your present time. What is the big deal in that? So yeah, it is possible, but well, let's see what are the other things which you have written. Looking into the unknown person's face, Mortimer realized that here he started running. He heard the footsteps. Okay, so এটা ঠিক আছে যে yeah, how can you look into your own face? That is one improbable thing. এটা অনেকেই লিখেছো, and that is one right thing. And then next is of Shumayu. He has written, a person may remember a human figure which he saw in a book in his childhood, but it is tough to remember that. What was the page number? I don't think it is quite impossible to remember a page number if it has gone into your psyche, in your psychology, in deep down in your mind, if it has gone, or if you are too much obsessed with it, it's not that much impossible to remember just a number of a textbook page number. Well, the next thing, mm, when Mortimer was running away in fear, a man like him followed him to the cottage. So how did he get the candle? No, it was never said that the man who was actually following him, he opened the door. How can he be that person? The person who was following him, how can he open the door from inside? He was outside. So, and it was never also said in the book Shumayu that he didn't, I mean, he had the candle with it. Okay, well, well, Indrayu, thank you for that compliment. Actually, I had to wear this glass. It doesn't have any power or something, but actually it strains my eyes when I mean, continuously look at the screen. That's why I had to wear this glass specs, which actually it's nothing but it blocks the blue rays. That's it. Yeah, it is just for blocking that blue rays. It is blue cut lens glass. That's why, just for protecting my eyes from the blue rays. Actually, I was having some headaches and my eyes were getting reddish, so that's why I had to get this. Nothing else. My Still now, thankfully, my eyes are all right. I don't know. Please wish or pray so that sooner I do not have to get a spec done. Thank you, Devajyoti. Well, moving on. Next one is of Devajyoti himself. Well, that's a coincidence. Uh, some improbable lines in unit two of well, there was a single lamp glowing Mortimer in the lamplight. Suddenly noticed. Okay. Okay, it's okay. Suddenly he noticed a dark solitary figure. There was a single dull lamp glowing. He walked quickly towards the figure and looked into his face. He was staring into his own face. Rushed down a moonlit road. Okay, four. If we take 1, 2, and 4, no lines, then there is a doubt it was glowing a single dull lamp. Moreover, it was a moonlit night. Well, nevertheless, he could not see the figure clearly. How is it possible? That is right. That is one big improbability. I did not think about it, but yes, that is possible. You can think it to be one improbability. Good. If we take 1 and 3 number lines, there is a doubt. Mortimer could not see the figure properly, but after getting near a bit towards the figure, he recognized his face properly. And this actually doesn't mean anything, Devajyoti. How is it possible? Whether his face is more subtle than his figure? Subtle means sukko. I mean, what actually have you meant by saying that his face is more subtle than his figure? What I just can't understand what exactly in your mind, what was in your mind. But anyway, let's move on. আচ্ছা লাস্ট যেটা বলছো যে if we take 3, 4, 5 number lines and let the figure as a person with bad intention, then why was he pausing when Mortimer was pausing in running? Well, now this one I Ramos hairstyle, I don't think so. Ramos, what hairstyle does he have? I have not seen him recently. I am not looking into the sports channels nowadays. Anyway, let us not get carried away. যেটা বলছিলাম দেবজ্যোতি যে what you have written, that if he were a bad person, good evening Shaurit, bad person can be like anything. He could have any type of intention, and if we take that person who was chasing him, if we do not take him as a person, if we take him as a ghost, it can very easily be possible. And that is actually the first thing that comes to our mind after reading this, that yeah, it is basically a ghost story. Okay, now I get it. ঠিক আছে, বুঝতে পেরেছি. Okay, that is a point, but well, it's not that much strong. You see, it's not that much strong. And the next one, it it makes us think more about a ghost. When the running stops, he also stops. It is more like a ghost. The intention is more about frightening him than about robbing him of, okay, about his fortune, if he did have anything with him. Well, see, so from that point of view, it can be explainable. Well, next. Okay, moreover the okay. 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 The others one are pretty much well nigh correct. And then it is of Borshopal. You have written there was a single dull lamp glowing. Now, it is possible to remember. First of all, I beg to differ, but if as I have told him, whom I don't remember, that if you were obsessed about it in your childhood, you can remember. You can remember. It is just one page number. How can you even forget? Okay, so well, I'm not saying that what you are saying is incorrect. Most of the numbers we forget or we have forgotten. But if you are too much obsessed about it, it is not impossible to remember. That's what I want to say, and that does not make it improbable. Because we are talking about improbability, it is not completely improbable to completely forget about just a number. That is my point. Okay. Okay. Next is that of Piyush. He was staring into his own face. Yeah, which you have highlighted with blue ink. I think that is a pertinent point, Piyush, that he was staring into his own face. How can he stare into his own face when we know, or he also knows very well, that he doesn't have a twin brother? That is a point. That is one of the improbabilities. Next point I have told time and again. Mm, yeah, it is impossible that a man can see himself in another figure. Again, the same point, but yes, that is improbable. Yeah, next one is quite good. It is not possible if one man enters. So, what is it? Uh, House taking any permission and the house owner gives him to stay in their house. It is very good. It is one of the most improbable point which occurs in that in that unit. Well, thank you. It is very important. It is very important, and which it is very pivotal in our analysis of that story. Later on, we will see. That is a very important point, Pius. Thank you for uh, walking that out. What is it? Highlighted is a error sentence, and the answer are at the bottom at the someone's. What is it? Okay, okay. I actually thought it to be your answer, but well, in that case, also if it is not the answer, that again is one of the improbabilities. But the point number three, which you have written, it is the most improbable thing that happens, or one of the most improbable thing that happens in the unit two. Got it? And then Anirban, yours is the last one. Yeah, that is also the looking into his own face, and then he could hear his own footsteps behind him. The footsteps were still gaining on him. Explanation: it seems that the Mortimer was being caught by himself. I think this is an impossible. Yes, that is also an impossible incident. And you also have written the exchange no words. Explanation: Mortimer was unknown. Yeah, the same point. And again, that is a very good point on it. One rightly pointed out. Okay. Now, the tea has gone cold completely. I don't like cold teas. Okay, thank you for your efforts in analyzing what were improbabilities in unit 2. We will come to them later, but keeping all those things in mind, let us go to the unit 3 and finish the text, uh, reading it, and then try to grasp the meaning of the total thing in the light of what we have discussed before. Okay, well, so let's go straight into it. Well, just let me adjust a little bit. um, well, from page 103, the shadowy figure took took him to an upper room where a bright fire was burning. There was an armchair beside the fire. By the armchair was a small oak table on which lay a battered old book bound in red leather. Good evening. Okay. Good evening. Mm, Again, so the shadowy figure took him to an upper room where a bright fire was burning. There was an armchair beside the fire. By the armchair was a small oak table on which lay a battered old book bound in red leather. The shadowy figure put the candle on the table and departed silently. Okay, so things are getting very ominous. You see, I told you last day that we actually fear the darkness, we do not fear the ghost, neither do we fear the, what should we say, the mystery and things like that, but we actually fear the darkness because these things are happening in darkness, because Mortimer is, or the things are basically, Mortimer is having a kind of psychological reworking of the things. He's having a, like, living a dream from his childhood, and things are like, from the pages of his childhood, they are flickering in front of his eyes like a movie that happens in a movie theater. He's getting more and more, things are becoming more and more uncanny, mysterious, and Mortimer thereby getting more and more crazy, more and more uh, tensed, nervous. Okay, so the shadowy figure took him to an upper room, where a bright fire was burning. Of course, you have a, there was a hearth. Hearth means a fireplace. Of course, you have fireplaces in the places in, mostly in the Western countries, where you have sub-zero temperatures. So by the armchair, there was an armchair beside the fire. By the armchair, there was a small oak table, like a table, like a coffee table or something, which we call a mantelpiece. অনেক সময় আমরা mantelpiece বলে থাকি, but well, mantelpiece is basically a rather a high table, but that was a small table. And on which lay a battered old book. Again, we have not yet known whether this battered book is that battered book bound in red leather, but again, the very sight of it evokes a kind of reminiscence or a type of fear in Mortimer's mind. The shadowy figure put the candle on the table and departed silently. Departed means took part, left silently. There was no exchange of words. See, the point, the improbability that Piyush and I think Anirban was it? Anyway, I forgot. They talked about that how can a person give entry to an unknown person in his house? That is, I think, at least according to me, that is the most improbable thing that happens in the previous unit. That Mortimer, out of fear, pounds on the door he finds arbitrarily, any home, and he pounds on it. And when the house owner opens the door, and without asking any question, he lets him enter and takes him to the upper stair, becomes him to sit. How is this possible? That seems quite improbable. And basically, they do not exchange any word. Yeah, you have written that point. So, well, we will come to that later on, but again, they are not exchanging any word. Mortimer collapsed into the armchair. Collapsed means you sit like this. Okay, because I was just about to fall. Anyway, uh, collapse. What does the word collapse mean? Uh, Write me in the comment. Okay, okay, okay. I get it. I get it. But now tell me, no, Shumayu, collapse does not mean sit. Contextually, it means sit, but collapse does not mean sit. What does the word collapse mean? If you have a dictionary in your near your hand, check it and tell me the meaning. What is the meaning of collapse? Let me Google it for you. Collapse. Yeah, I have found the meaning. You tell. No, collapse does not mean to destroy. অজ্ঞান হয়ে যাওয়াও ঠিক নয়। হ্যাঁ, ধসা। ধসা মানে well, no, not awakened. Dhosa. You mean the thing that you eat? That South Indian food. ধসে পড়া। Yeah. Yes, in English. In English. Tell it to me in English. নো, নিজের থেকে বসানো এরকমও নয়। নিজের থেকে বসানো তাহলে কে বসালো? ভূতে ধরে বসিয়ে দিয়েছে নাকি কান ধরে? Deteriorated, no, not deteriorated. Deteriorated means to I mean the decrease of quality, that is deterioration. Simply fall down. What does Google say? We can, all these things can happen, but basically what Google says that it is to suddenly fall or give way. Mainly we use sir মানে বসার ইচ্ছা নেই। No, Shumayo, please, no, it's not like that. বসার ইচ্ছে নেই তাও বসে পড়া না। আমার বসার ইচ্ছে নেই তাও আমি কেন বসবো? আমার বসার ইচ্ছে নেই আমি তাও কেন বসবো? I'd rather choose to sit, stand. Fall down, yeah, that's correct. Fall down. Fall down, and especially collapse is something which we normally do not use with a person. What collapses? A building collapses, or maybe a team, the performance, especially Oni should have said it. It says, or the commentator says, that the performance of Barcelona is falling, collapsing. That means it is drastically falling down. It's not only fall down, but it is drastically falling down, all in a jolt. So that is collapse. Now convert it to a human character and ascribe the meaning to a person when he is sitting. His sitting has been compared to collapsing. That means he is sitting in a way that he is actually leaving himself in frustration, in dejection, or maybe in this context in fear. Got it? He is actually leaving himself. He is having no control over him, and that's why he is leaving him, and he is collapsing on the chair, like ধপাস করে পড়ে গেল। ঠিক আছে? That is it. Like a building collapses. Okay, like the World Trade Center on 9/11. If you have seen it, I don't know, you were probably not born in that on that year, but it actually collapsed. You perhaps have seen the video. It actually collapsed within half an hour. So that collapsing, and this is also collapsing. Okay, I think you have got it. Let's not waste more time on a single word like collapsing, otherwise we will collapse. Mortimer collapsed into the armchair and picked up the old book, gaining courage. With a shock, he realized it was the same book from his childhood. The book which contained the story of Midnight Express, the most improbable thing that is happening right now. How can that book be here? How can that book be here? He was afraid of that book, and he was standing in front in a railway station after a many year, and he was having the same experience as if the illustration came alive in front of his eyes, and things were improbable, and he was afraid. He was looking into his own face and he was running away. Somebody was chasing him. He entered into a house arbitrarily. A random house owner opened the door without asking any question. They exchanged no words. He took him to the upstairs and let him sit, and there he found that very book which he was afraid of, and the book from where all these things were being revoked. So I mean, it is the extreme of coincidence. If you think it to be coincidence, then I mean, co- coincidence. I mean, this is enough of coincidence. If so many coincidences happen in a queue, you choose not to call it coincidences. They of course are happening for some reason. They are not coincidences. Okay. So let's see what happens next. The book which contained the story of Midnight Express. Mortimer was greatly afraid. Of course, he should be. He turned the pages with trembling hands. Kapa kapa hate. He began to read. Okay. He began to read. I think the viewers are falling down. Can you please tell me why, in spite of having a good many number of people in the WhatsApp group, we don't have viewers in this live session? People are not interested in it, and I think it is. I mean, voluntary class not implemented by the government, and that's why. Is it so? Had it been imposed by the government, there would have been a plethora of students in here. But well, let's continue. Yeah, now we have 23. Anyway, forget that. You are here. I know you are actually interested, and that's why I am really thank you from my heart. And now it is dropping down to 19. I think I'm getting extremely boring with each passing minute. Yeah, I know that. I know that, Shumayu. I'm not saying that in my case it is happening, but well, you should not squander the opportunity. That's what I would like to say to those who are not watching not only my video but anybody else's, any teachers. Had it been the class, real-time class, you would have attended. So yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. The story was যখন জুম বা অন্য কোনো ভিডিও কলিং ক্লাস হয় তখন অ্যাভারেজ থাকে 35 জন, আর স্যার এই ক্লাসে তো ইউটিউবে, তাই এখানেও আরো কিছু কম হয়ে যায়, কারণ এখানে এত কিসের এক্সপার্ট হতে হয়? এক্সপার্টের তো কিছু নেই। I mean, I think it is easier. I mean, this one is less interactive. You have to just comment. I mean, opening Zoom or joining Zoom is rather difficult. You have to enter the meeting ID and password, or you have to click on the link each time. Well. We are actually discussing something which is not our cup of tea. Let's discuss Midnight Express. Indrayud, I took a class in Zoom in of class 12, where we had I had 94 students. So that was almost nearing the number of the highest number of people. Had it been six more, we would have saturated the limit of that 100 people. So that is the biggest audience that I had in Zoom class. Well, but that was yeah, 94. It was the number of class 12. Anyway, getting back, the story was Mortimer was greatly afraid. He should have been. He turned the pages with trembling hands. He yes, 94. Uh, because you see, it is 94 out of more than 150 students, because there are three sections in class 11, in class 12. So that's why we had such a great number of students. But well, now that is in decreasing order. Now when I take classes of 12 in Zoom, there are hardly 30 to 35 students. So you see, yeah, YouTube is easier, I think. Well, we are wasting time. The story was about a man who was, he began to read. The story was about a man who in his childhood had read a book which contained a frightening figure. Now that this is extremely inexplicable thing. I mean, something, you were afraid of a book, you were afraid of an illustration, and because you were afraid of that illustration, you did not please, getting distracted. We will come back to this later. So he was afraid of the book because of the ambience in which he found the book. If we take it, then he was afraid of that illustration, and because of the illustration, he did not read beyond page 50. And now that he everything that he was afraid of is now actually he's living that nightmare in his life, and that's why he's terribly afraid. And when he is getting his hand on the book and he's trying to give a read to the story, he's finding that he is reading his own story, which is extremely inexplicable and which is extremely improbable as well. Don't you think that it is very, very improbable? You can't have that much of a coincidence on a single event. Okay, so how can it be? Let's read. Mortimer tried to grasp the strange cycle of events. It is a very pertinent word, I think, to explain these things. Strange cycle of events. Of course, if you try to look back and think logically and rationally about what had been happening since, you will find, or Mortimer would find, that things might have been having a connection in between them. And that's why they are happening in an order, in a cycle. And the cycle is pretty strange. You just can't ascribe a meaning to it. And that's why I asked you to find out the improbable events. And this improbability we will read in the higher classes, that improbability in general, it gives birth to comedy, but here improbability is giving birth to a tremendous fear. At that very moment, the door opened and the strange host came in. At that moment, the door came in. Sorry. Mortimer was trying to grasp the strange cycle of events he was going through. He was filled with acute dread. Grasp, grasp, what is the meaning of grasp? To understand, to assimilate, হজম করা. Okay, কি দেয়া আছে দেখি এখানে. Yeah, understand. He was filled with acute dread, extreme dread, fear. Who is the strange man who asked me into his cottage? Mortimer asked himself fearfully. He should have asked it quite earlier. He should have asked it quite earlier in the second unit, but at that moment he was in such a hurry, he was such a stupor that he did not have that question in his mind, hovering in his mind at that moment. What was in his mind at that moment was to get a shelter by hook or by crook, and that's why he did not think about it. Why is this man letting me inside the house? I am pounding, but what basically happen when you knock on the door of anybody, any door, and especially when the person who is opening the door, the owner, he does not know you, what happens? He asks you, who are you? What do you want? But nothing of that sort happens in here. And he didn't even think about that because he was in fear, he was in hurry. His intention was about to take a refuge at that moment. But now he has some time to ponder, to ruminate about things. Ruminate means jabor kata, মানে পুরনো ঘটনাগুলোকে আবার ফিরিয়ে চিবিয়ে চিবিয়ে মিলিয়ে মিলিয়ে দেখা. So when Mortimer is ruminating about those things, ruminating is let me type that word for you. RUMINATE. That's ruminate, which means basically lexically it means গরুর জাবর কাটা, রোমন্থন করা, ওরা পেট থেকে তুলে আনে দিয়ে আবার নতুন করে করে. So when you have done something and after some time you are again ruminating, that means you are taking it in the foreground, those events, and rethinking. So Mortimer was now rethinking, and while he was rethinking, now he finds those events to be pretty strange. At that very moment, the door opened and the strange host came in. His face was covered in darkness. The candle on the table cast huge shadows on the walls. The shadowy figure stood before Mortimer. Slowly, he edged forward. আস্তে আস্তে এগিয়ে এলো. Mortimer, sitting on the armchair, felt a chill run up his spine. শীত দ্বারা দিয়ে ঠান্ডা স্রোত উঠে আসছে আস্তে আস্তে. He looked up into the face of the shadowy figure. Mortimer realized he was looking at himself. The same thing, the same vision he is having. I don't know whether it is a vision or a hallucination or whatever it is, but again, he is looking at his own face. The clock ticked in the hall below and the sea roared outside. The candlelight flickered. The old battered book in red leather lay open on the table. And I think you know, I have told you and I have also shown you the picture of the book or the main text of the main story from which it has been adapted. That after this, what actually happened, Mortimer got up and in a frantic endeavor to put an end to all these fearful events, he was clutching the throat. He was clutching the throat of that person. But while he was clutching the throat of that person like this, he was feeling himself to be strangled. But he could not let it go, and eventually he died. So now that we have finished the story, now tell me, what do you think about this? What do you think that the events which you thought to be improbable no, but really hats off to you to think like that the stranger attached a mirror in his own face. Well, had it been a mirror, it would have really reflected the candlelight, doesn't it? And how can you attach a mirror in his own face, on your own face anyway? But again, it's a really hilarious explanation. Anyway, Now, do you think that the events which we uh, have seen to happen, or which we have till now are considering to be improbable, can you ascribe some probability to those improbable events? It will be your next home task. Okay, it will be your next home task, that the events that we have finished the text, you I mean, you have finished the text, I know that, but now that we have officially finished discussing the total text, can you, after having everything discussed, like these psychological things, ghostly affairs, spirits, apparitions, and everything, from each angle, maybe from the angle of a ghost or maybe from a psychological angle, can you ascribe any meaning to these improbable events? That is, can you ascribe any probability to these apparently improbable happenings which had been happening throughout the story? Okay, um, that is the home task. Got it? And then, after seeing your home tasks, we will discuss that how all these things can happen, what are, or what may be the easiest or the nearest explanation. Okay, and I was thinking about another home task towards the beginning. I did not say it, but after this 41 minutes of continuous talking, I have forgotten what I was thinking about. Mm, I really forgot. No, you can't find probability, Devojyoti. You can't find probability from the book. Uh, Probabilities are something. I mean, in book you have found the improbabilities. Everything that is happening in the book, in the story, they are all improbable. Can you hear me? I can't see Piyush's comment. It is like circling and circling. Am I audible? Am I audible? Can you please tell me? Am I have? Yeah. Okay. So I think I was having an assumption that since Piyush's comment is not coming as a text, so I was thinking that I was not audible. Anyway, what I was telling you that Devojyoti, the question Devojyoti asked, that sir, probability গুলো কি বই থেকেই খুঁজে লিখতে হবে নাকি নিজের কল্পনা থেকে লিখলেও হবে? নিজের কল্পনা থেকেই it's not about তোমায় কল্পনা করে, when you are trying to ascribe some probability, then actually you have to reason it. You have to reason it like something you have to work it or think about like a detective. See, you have to become either a Sherlock Holmes or a Feluda uh, to basically uh, ascribe some logic to these apparently illogical things that is happening in the Midnight Express. Okay, or things or the events which are the strange cycle of events as Mortimer thinks about it. The question is, are those cycle of events which Mortimer assumes to be strange, are they really strange, or are they really improbable, or can you make out, or can you give any meaning to it? That is the question. Okay, Piyush, I got it. So with that being said, let us call it a day. Thank you, everybody. So, well, no, not now. Not until this time. I have not watched Dil Bechara. I mean, I am not quite inclined to watching that movie, and neither I am very much. I mean, obsessed by his death. I told you. Yeah. Uh, it's not like I didn't like him. Yeah, I do like him, but it's not like I was quite obsessed and things like that. But so, yeah, maybe if I feel like watching, I will watch it. But it's not. I mean, I'm not in such a hurry. I have, I mean, other movies in my watch list. After I, okay, hello. But yeah, it has been adapted from a good book called The Fault in Our Stars. Uh, but I have some other movies in my watch list. So not before that. And basically, uh, I'm actually watching the web series. I have finished Breathe, and before that, I watched that Breathe into Shadows, thrillers like that. So well, and now I will be watching another movie by Will Smith called The Gemini Man. That is a, I mean, again a thriller, suspense thriller by Will Smith. Okay. Yes, I have. Did you, Shantan? I think I don't think it is a web series of. I mean, four more shots, please. It is not a web series of your age. Four more shots, please. Yes, I liked it. I really liked it, but it is not. I mean, there are plenty of adult contents in it, and more than those adult contents, they basically offer staunch feministic thoughts and I mean weird ideas which will be hard to assimilate for now at this standard age. So I will recommend not to watch that four more shots, please. Season one and season two. Not right now. It's not about that you will have some spicy content. Yes, some spicy contents are there, but again, you will miss the flavor of it if you watch it now. Okay, let's reserve it for when you grow up. At least you have 18 years of age, and then it will be there online. But you will get the Conjuring 2. None. I am not so much fond of the ghost movies. Not so much fond of the ghost movies. I have some watch lists. Like I can tell you the names of some movies which you may watch, like the The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I have seen this movie. It is a movie of Brad Pitt, and it's basically a book written by William Fitzgerald, and documents the book documents a weird event of a man. When he was born, he was 70 years of age, and as he grew in his age, basically we grew up, and he basically grew down. তার বয়স আস্তে আস্তে কম ছিল. Now, mind boggling movie if you watch. Yes, I have seen Joker. I have Joker, then Dark Knight Rises. I have seen it. Seen all of them. Okay. And then I would recommend another movie. It's an old movie, but must watch. Pursuit of Yes, 2019 দেখেছি। Pursuit of Happiness. এই সিনেমাটা আমি বলবো সবাইকে দেখতে। হ্যাঁ রে বাবা, দেখেছি 2019 জোকারটাই দেখেছি। তো যেটা বললাম যে Pursuit of Happiness, it is a movie of Will Smith. It's an old movie. Old movie means maybe a movie of 2004 or 6, like that. না, লিংক কোথা থেকে দেব? I have seen all of them in Amazon Prime Video. Yes, Amazon Prime. I don't have Netflix subscription. I have Amazon Prime, and I have Hotstar Disney. I have Z5. I have Hoichoi. All these things. Marvel Studio movies I am not especially very much fond of. Yeah, oh no, I was thinking about a Night in a Museum, not Annabelle Doll in Museum. Okay, so if you please, I would recommend you to I will recommend you to watch that movie, that Pursuit of Happiness, where you have Will Smith and his own kid who was starring in that Karate Kid movie. That little boy, he was even more little in that movie, and there it explains a beautiful relationship between a father and a son, and how his father, he would build himself from scratch, and at the same time rear his son. He would pass the night in ghetto, in the toilet of a metro station, unbelievable conditions, and from there he would actually live his dream. He would become a stockbroker in the Wall Street. It's a beautifully inspirational movie, you must watch. Okay, so well, we will discuss all these things in detail when we again meet you next week with this home task and this discussion and the revelation of, yeah, I have that Midnight Express, and we will discuss more about other movies then. After that, I mean, after those contextual discussions about our texts, we will discuss about movies next week. Okay, so but until then, bye for now.